sneaky by asking that last theme, because it leads into a quick question. I have a few minutes of Q&A. And the question is, you guys are all poet laureates. That means you have a job in the community, right? And you work hard at it. But at the same time, when we become poets, we become in our own little way, rule breakers and our own kind of scoundrels, and we put pen to paper as a kind of misconduct. And I'm just wondering, how do you put those two things together? Because you obviously have, and I'd love to hear you talk about it. Anyone ever thought about that? No? Is that too big, complicated, weird a question?
I'm the most complicated, so I guess so. Maybe you need
Is that not an answerable question?
You say I think probably everybody has different experiences, and I think it all depends on what kind of government you are dealing with in one's position. These are all appointed offices, so to speak, and that means these offices come to us from the elected representatives of the people, from whatever jurisdiction it is we find ourselves within and operating within. And I'm sure that here in Mississauga, the government is perfectly fine, and that there are no issues of any sort to talk about. And I'm going to start up in a moment, but I just want to say that, and I'm going to answer your question more fully later on, perhaps, Rick. But I just want to say that I think that we're all really lucky that we live in a country, in a society, in a province, and in various jurisdictions across the country, and of course throughout Ontario, where our elected representatives, members of parliament, members of provincial parliament, members of legislatures, understand that the position of poet laureate is important, not because of the fact that we all represent some kind of highfalutin literary value and so on, because I like to see it this way, that the poet laureate is also a kind of voice of the people. We're also kind of, because we come from the people, we're not elected, we're appointed, but we come from the people, and we come from everybody's neighborhoods, for crying out loud. So yeah, we're a little bit special, at least for a little while, unless we're like John, we're appointed for life. But I think that bottom line, though, is that we're supposed to represent the people back to the elected officials through the power of language. And that way, we are kind of gifted scoundrels, I think, and empowered scoundrels, maybe, in a sense. I'll stop there.
In my case, I see myself as a poetry laureate rather than a poet laureate. It's not about the individual, but it's about the art form that we participate in. And so what I'm grateful for in both of the communities that I was appointed in is for the opportunity to say I live in a rural community now, I lived in a small city before, and that the city officials feel that poetry is important enough to raise it in the public profile, in the public mind, so that it gives me the opportunity not only within the county where I live, but as an ambassador when I go elsewhere and say, you know, I come from a rural community where the size of the entire rural community is only about 80,000 people, 100,000 people, and they think, these farm families and these fishermen families and these factory workers and so on, and school teachers and lawyers and all of the rest, I think poetry is important enough to say one individual is given the opportunity to remind everybody in the community, especially school children, especially the young, that poetry and the arts matter. And so, you know, whether I'm a scoundrel or not is for other people to say, but that's the thing that I'm grateful for, and that's the kind of ambassador for poetry I am. I kind of like to vanish into the work. You know, poetry is important. That's what I think my role is.
I agree with John, and I always remember last year we went to Windsor for Laureate, several Laureate reading, and John, one sentence you touched me very much is you said, we read the poetry is not for ourselves, it's for the audience. So it's echoed George's words as well. Like we write poetry, we promote poetry, it's for people. Our voice is for people. So, and for me also, I'm grateful for Mississauga City because I got a lot of support and to set up my mission is to promote poetry to the public. So I did several things for the public. It's a haiku walking tour. So I want to invite everyone to try to write about our city. So use short poem or use postcard poetry to write about our city. And also, I want this project also can let the people understand and to see how beautiful our city is, and also to physically and mentally appreciate our life. So this one, I did one for our city. Another one is I bring poetry alive to the schools. So tomorrow, Port Laureate will visit a school in Mississauga. So I wanted to do two things. One is for general public, and one is go to the school to bring the students to like formally to understand poetry. So.
Yeah, for me, being the poet laureate for Windsor is telling the story. I'm trying to tell stories about our community so that our community can value itself. I live in a city that where we have spent generations literally tearing down heritage buildings. And more recently, I would say in the last 15 or 20 years, there's been a reverse trend on that. Now the city looks at culture as something important, and when I was asked to be poet laureate, my mandate was to tell the stories, to let us value ourselves in a better way, and to remind people that we have a history, that we have a good history, we have a rich and long history that goes back, to the native peoples and to the French settlers who arrived on the South Shore and built a fort on the North Shore. And so what I'm doing is basically telling those stories. And more recently, what I've done with Canada's 150th anniversary coming up, we're sending 7 writers into our community. The city of Windsor is really made up of 5 towns. And we're sending 7 writers into neighborhoods and writing stories about what I call the disappeared. The disappeared are the heritage sites that were there, but we walk by them and there are parking lots, there are condos. And we're calling our group a group of 7.